All right, everyone, it's time for today's live stream. Let's make sure we're actually live over on Rumble. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I believe that we are. Again, Rumble no longer allows me to have the chat down below. I still have not actually contacted them about this. I thought that was a good feature. It was really, really helpful because then StreamYard's on one it just sort of works, but I don't seem to be able to do that at the moment. By the way, the kitty is being very perturbing at the moment. The baby's upstairs. Naturally, that means kitty is down here. And so I've got to like pet her underneath here. Here, you want to come up and why don't you come and impress people with how cute you are? Yeah, there we go. Ta-da! Aww. I love it when she dangles like that. She sort of goes dead weight mode and just literally just will hang there. She sleeps next to me every night. She paces me every day, in front or behind, either like a little lost puppy or like a little marquee who's sort of like clearing the way or something. It can be a little bit difficult at times, but she's cute, so she can get away with it. She's allowed to do so. We've got a lot to cover today. Oh, yes. We've got the Panama shooting, of course, where George Lucas, not actually George Lucas, but his lookalike, decided to shoot a couple of protesters. And it appears that there's some confusion about what they were protesting. Some people are saying climate protesters. Some people, this is down in Panama. Some people are saying that it was like they were protesting mining. Actually, it doesn't really matter. He hauled off and went full I don't give a shit anymore mode and gunned down a couple of people. We'll be talking about specifically the kind of firearm that he used because there's some confusion among people about exactly what make and model it was as well. So yeah, hard-hitting news. But, you know, when somebody who basically looks like George Lucas decides to kill several people, it can be interesting anyway. We've got Ronna McDaniels. She totally melted down, and so did Nikki Haley, by the way, who is clearly her favorite. Because of the GOP debate. Yes, I watched some more clips from it. This morning I did a cold take, just a simple analysis, sort of taking the pulse of people as far as what they thought the debate sort of panned out with. And I've been doing that for debates because, I mean, I'm not going to watch the whole fucking thing myself because it's too fucking boring. But just basically, which of the also-rans did well, which of the also-rans did poorly. And Vivek Ramaswamy definitely got in the hit of the night, which is probably why Ronna McDaniels was saying some interesting things, considering she's supposed to not be particularly biased with regards to the candidates that are up on stage there. Richard Spencer decided to weigh in on marijuana the other day. We'll be talking about his dysfunction there. And then a couple of other things. We've got Jewish people arming up, the FCC trying to take over the internet, and the deviated prevert of the CIA, which is definitely an interesting, although definitely disgusting story. So I'll be talking about all that. And then, of course, getting to some rants and bants here. We've got some super chats already. Laszlo the Instigator, not climate protesters. They protested a mining contract. Chinese-Canadian company that the government signed. Panamanians always block this highway. Yeah, we'll be talking about the badass boomer anyway, though, because of that particular image of him that makes him look like a goddamn movie character. Bara Sticks is making cottage pie, and you can't have any. Yes, I will be making cottage pie tonight. Hamburger on the bottom, finely seasoned. Well, heavily seasoned in my case. Probably throw in a shallot, I suppose, this time. And then you've got peas and carrots. I prefer, actually, it's one of those situations, and there aren't many of them, where I prefer it pre-cooked and jarred. So I'll just use that pea and carrot mix because actually it cooks better that way than if you're doing it yourself. And then on top you have, you know, nice creamy buttery mashed potatoes. And again, very, very herby, well seasoned. I like it to have a lot of flavor in it. Wow. Good afternoon from Israel. Shekels for the baby. Thank you very much. The Commander 248. Hey, Sticks, did you see Glenn Beck's interview of Ron Paul the other day? Unfortunately, Ron was unwilling to endorse Trump. Also, I'm concerned about McDaniels in Pennsylvania screwing Trump over in 24. Yeah, I'd be concerned too, because there will be shenanigans. As far as Ron Paul being unwilling to endorse Trump, it's perfectly fine. He sticks to his guns. He's more libertarian than Trump is, admittedly. I like Ron Paul. I would have gladly voted for him if the Republican Party hadn't screwed him in 2012. Absolutely. He would have had my vote in an instant. They also tried to cast him off as a racist. If he has anything in common with Trump, it's the same media pejoratives that were levied against him. Gristle lumps, regardless of whether the George Lucas guy is in the wrong or not, you got to admit that was a cool picture. Yeah, I'm not allowed to say fully what I believe about the Panama shooter on a YouTube live stream, but we will look at the image. And by the way, again, there's no real contrast. It basically looks like George Lucas to me. And we're still trying to figure out what kind of gun he used. I think he might be Glock family. But again, I'm sure that there will be at least a dozen different individuals in chat that will weigh in on what model they think it was. Some say Glock, Smith & Wesson, Taurus, everything under the sun, basically. One thing's for sure, it appears to be a 380 or a 9mm, or possibly 40 Smith & Wesson. We're not sure. Billy, the Panama gunman used a Glock 26. Yes, that's one of the models that I've seen listed. It does look similar. Sigil Stone, good morning, Clankers. Yesterday was a nice day. New Ghostbusters trailer looks all right. And Panama invented new technology using lead to neutralize pollution. A follow-up, I'm going to Panama to spring the road warrior from the Clink. Going to take him to Bonehead's place to reduce more carbon. Yeah, but I mean, a zombie doesn't create as much carbon. Do they even have to breathe? I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I would assume so, but, you know, depends on the movie. Suck Duck, did you hear that England gave up its tax sovereignty? No, I did not. You can DM me on Twitter with any interesting shit like that, and maybe I'll be able to cover that in a video. The Happy Plague Doctor. People who claim to live a sober lifestyle seem to consume a lot of caffeine. Yeah, baby. Caffeine is a mind-altering drug. Are they actually living a sober lifestyle? Well, I mean, it won't get you hammered or anything like that. If anything, it increases focus, and it's kind of ubiquitous as far as its usage in the human population at this point. I'm not giving up caffeine. Fuck. I can't use psychedelics or anything like that anymore, but I'm definitely going to be using caffeine. Sigilstone, bones are carbon-based. Needs to be reduced. Too much of it. I think bones are mainly calcium, actually. Or maybe I'm just retarded. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get to the first news story. End wokeness. An old man just shot 2 climate activists. Again, that is up in the air as to why. I believe that they were protesting mining, not green energy or something like that, who are blocking a highway in Panama. And if you look, link in the description at this picture, please compare this to a picture of George Lucas. And tell me that this is not his goddamn doppelganger who missed his calling in life to portray George Lucas in a movie at some point. Anyway, he went nuts. He got tired of it. He did the boomer thing. He's like, fuck shit. I'm tired of this fucking bullshit. I didn't fight in Vietnam for this. He's Panamanian, so I don't know if he's an expat or not or anything like that. But he decided that he was tired of people getting in the way. He had to go and buy groceries or go to the beach or something, apparently, and very, very nonchalantly whips out his gun and shoots 2 people to death. He was being antagonized. In full disclosure here, shooting someone because they're yelling at you is not the right way to go. And somebody fact check this for me. Is it true that in the nation of Panama, if you're elderly and you commit a crime, you can't be put in prison? Because somebody was claiming that effectively he would end up getting house arrest because of this. Somebody please fact check that for me. But basically, it's Boomer versus Zoomer. He was attacking these people because they blocked the road physically with their bodies, number one, and also with I believe logs, among other things. But this dude is strutting. Now, I will say, when we look at the picture, they've got a full-on picture of him firing the weapon and the casing actually flying out of the gun. And it looks like a scene from an action movie. It doesn't even really look like real life when we look at these images. It's almost like cinematography was involved or something like that. What a badass. But I'm not allowed to praise him, of course. I'll say I regret the fact that he shot the protesters, but photographically speaking, yeah, I mean, they did fuck around and they found out because he was armed at the time. Again, we're still debating what kind of firearm he's using. It's some polymer-based handgun. It looks an awful lot like my Glock 42, but I have a feeling it's a little bit bigger than that. So we're not 100% sure if he's Glock family like myself and Donald Trump. So you can debate that in the comments section. By the way, the baby again upstairs is chuffing. Cold Summer 91. At this rate, do you think Trump will do better or worse than 2016 in the next election? Based only on polling, if I had to go by that, I would say better. I would say considerably better, actually. Like, 3 or 4 points better, actually, based on the polling. Possibly more. Laszlo, the instigator. No, in Panama, you go to jail regardless of age. Okay, so that's been debunked. I did see that claim by a couple of people. They said that if you were an elderly pensioner sort, you tended to get house arrest. So apparently that's not the case. But anyway, when you're in your 70s or something like that, and you just like say, fuck it, you know, maybe his life sucks or something, and his wife left him or died, or his kid died, or his dog died, and he just flipped and gunned down 2 people. At the very least, he gets the consolation of knowing that he looks cool while he did that. F. Giamato, it looks to be a 1911 clone. Look at the muzzle. By the way, how screwed is it you had to say I'm not allowed to say in America and on the internet? Very, very screwed. Yes, very, very screwed. No, it's not a 1911 clone. It's definitely, it's some sort of Glock or Smith & Wesson or Taurus or something like that. It's not a 1911. That's for sure. Opinionated junkie. In regards to yesterday, people on the right need to understand strategy. No, abortion and anti-pot is not a winning topic. You can only push when you have control. Exactly. But trying to warn Republicans about imminent failure is very difficult to do because they like the failure. David Walk. Boomer 2, Zoomer 0. The Commander 248, the wife and son of Judge Engoron, New York fraud case, were caught bashing Trump on social media. The son deleted his LinkedIn, the wife locked her Twitter and denied it. Also at 77, that guy is silent Jim. No, wouldn't he be on the oldest end of boomer at that age? Maybe. I don't know, have they confirmed his age, actually? He doesn't look 77, in the early 70s or something. Yeah, here's the thing. I don't really care about what Judge Engoron's relatives do. Any more than like politicians' relatives. They can do what they're not elected officials or appointed officials. So I really don't care about that. Care more about Engoron being an asshole. Not a banned account. Please make more babies. Enrich human gene pool. Josh Pililo. Do you believe in Jesus? Well, you're going to meet him. Not a banned account. Will a second term Trump legalize pot and animate waifus? Probably the latter. Maybe not the former. He doesn't seem to have a strong opinion with regards to recreational marijuana. He's a states' writer on a lot of issues, like abortion, which again, I mean, that's a good thing. That's what the Republicans campaigned on successfully for years. With regards to pot, it seems to be about the same. The Hudsucker proxy. It looks like a George Lucas and shoots like a stormtrooper. I still blame Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger. Sigil Stone. George, protest in the highway, solving you my way, Lucas. George, activist deactivator, Lucas. Yeah, I mean, again, he looks exactly like fucking George Lucas. He could easily play him in a movie. It would be completely believable. If he were to do his hair a little bit differently, he could pass for George Lucas. He could go to goddamn LA and people would be wanting his autograph. It'd be hilarious. Anyway, he gunned down 2 people. It's sad that they're dead, but they were blocking the road. I do have an interesting opinion. Again, I'm not allowed to praise him for what he did because that would be against YouTube TOS, but I can point out this. If you're blocking the road, you're effectively taking people hostage by virtue of the fact that automobiles are less maneuverable than individual human beings. If a person is taken hostage in a criminal situation and they decide to retaliate against the hostage taker, they don't get in trouble for that now, do they? I think we need similar laws with regards to the roads. You want to protest, that's perfectly fine. You begin blocking the roads, that becomes a problem. What if an ambulance has to get through? What if some sick Panamanian child had a stroke or something like that? The ambulance couldn't get through. Well, that'd be a little bit of a problem. In such a case, by the way, I think that the so-called protesters should be charged with murder. Suck duck. Everyone make babies. Grandpa needs his pension paid to get this to the WEF. Alan Smithy, we're the Panamaniacs. Block the road and you get whacked. Not a band account. Have you ever tried DMT? Joe Rogan. No, but I did make ayahuasca once. It didn't quite work. I did get mild audio hallucinations, but La Purga lives up to its name reputation. It tastes like battery acid. It will make you vomit. I think I didn't hold it down long enough. I generally have a strong stomach, but by God, that's definitely on another level. James, Clank, thanks you for your years of content, Sticks. Thank you very much for your donation. Matthew Hammond, Zoomer remover. Yeah. Next news story. Oh boy, is this a doozy, by the way. Ronna McDaniel overheard trashing Vivek Ramaswamy in debate audience, saying he won't get a cent from us. He's an asshole. Total asshole, McDaniel said. This is confirmed, by the way, by multiple individuals. Ronna McDaniel, the chair of the RNC, was openly bad-mouthing one of her own candidates that was on the primary stage. Why? I think I know. It's because he got into it with Nikki Haley. Now, Nikki Haley called him scum. Why? Because she said, well, you're using TikTok and stuff. And he said, well, so does your daughter. Her daughter, by the way, is 25. This is not him trashing a 14-year-old or anything like that, because it's a typical age range of a TikToker and the typical mental development's even younger. No, an adult child who does the Insta and TikTok thing and posts content, whatever. Nobody really cares. He was simply responding to her attack on him. And I'm not a Vivek Ramaswamy fan, of course, if you saw my post a few days ago on Twitter, quite the opposite. But he was just responding to an attack by Nikki Haley. So what? Is she allowed to attack somebody and he's not allowed to return fire without Ronna McDaniels being a bitch? Because that's basically what she's being. Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels was the moniker that Vivek gave to Nikki Haley, and she didn't seem to like that very much. Well, yeah, I do wear heels. They're not a fashion statement, which is, by the way, an attack on DeSantis, who looked real mad after the debate because, he's the middle-of-the-road mediocre performer, and he knows that Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy gobble up all the oxygen in the room for the also-rans. Of course, Donald Trump held a rally at the same time that probably had 4,000 or 5,000 people at it, and he got standing ovation and stuff, so nobody even gives a fuck about the debates. Ronna McDaniels, though, should resign immediately. Again, I say this as someone who is not taken in by Ramaswamy. I would not vote for him. But for her to trash a candidate in that manner, to show her bias in effectively what amounts to a semi-hot mic moment, shows the bias of the RNC. It's unbecoming of the people leading the party. I realize that there's bias. Okay, bias happens everywhere. It happens in courts. It happens in the RNC, the DNC, et cetera, et cetera. But you can't show it publicly. You have to establish some degree of accountability and decorum. You can't show it openly. You have to choke back your comments, save them for the hotel room or for when you're back in your flat or wherever the fuck that Ronna McDaniels happens to be at the time, and wait to vent to people who are in your inner circle. You can't do it publicly when you're effectively helping to run the primaries within the election. And she's coming out and calling him an asshole. Vivek Ramaswamy should capitalize on this, by the way. He would be wise to. Oh, well, look, yeah, the head of the party, well, the de facto head in the legalistic sense at least, is bad-mouthing me. I think she doesn't like me. Do you think that I can really get fair polling in party? Do you really think I can get fair questions, et cetera, et cetera? He can play the pity me sort of card if he really wants to. Vivek Ramaswamy has every right to say whatever he wants about Ronna McDaniels because she's not running. She doesn't have the unilateral right to publicly respond to the candidates no matter what they say because she's supposed to be unbiased. She's supposed to effectively be the organizer of the primaries. When you go up there and you're practically making out with Nikki Haley, who was in it with Ramaswamy. I'll get to, by the way, a couple of those super chats in a moment regarding Vivek. When you're practically making out with Nikki Haley And then you're bad-mouthing Ramaswamy off to the side, semi-privately, but everyone heard what you were saying because you weren't trying to stifle yourself. Is that really a good look for the party leadership? Methinks not. I wouldn't vote for Ramaswamy, but he's objectively in the right on this one. By the way, don't get taken in by this and think, well, Vivek is the real outsider. The party is trying to screw up. That's not what's happening. It's because of his comments with regards to McDaniels, number one, and his attacks on Nikki Haley, number two, being so successful. Clearly, the GOP establishment would like to mint Nikki Haley as DeSantis' replacement, which is why the Heels comment effectively from both him and from Nikki Haley attacked Ron DeSantis by default for simply mentioning boots because of the whole lifts in the shoes thing. If I had 2-inch lifts in my shoes, I would be 6'4". That's a tall drink of water right there. Let's see. Shit tons of super chats. Cold Summer 91. I recently read Neil Howe's book, The Fourth Turing is Here. He dates boomers 1943 to 1960. Very interesting read. Highly recommend it. Charles B. Biden will attempt to legalize pot next year and fail. I don't think there will be national legalization for some time. It's mainly a states issue, and it should be, by the way. There shouldn't be any federal law for or against pot or any other drug, nor for guns or anything else for that matter. As little as possible from the top down. BW. I'm in Houston. I hate Dems, but do you think I should vote Whitmire in December 9th? Also, do you think Trump is on his way to jail or Biden dropping out? I think that Trump may end up in a jail cell, which would probably ensure his reelection. More likely house arrest at the Mar-a-Lago. They will throw the book at him. I don't think Biden will drop out, although it is possible. And he could croak. He's fucking 80, 81 years old or something. You vote your conscience. Just look at the ideology espoused by the people that are running and vote your conscience. Don't pay attention to party and all this bullshit. Charles B. We'll do this for Gen Z votes like student loans. The Commander 248. Silent Gen is 28 to 45. Boomers 46 to 64. If he is 77 and about to turn 78 this or next month, then he's silent. Trump is technically a boomer, apparently. Interesting. I think that there are multiple reads on when the generations cut off, though. Smirk 808. Vivek took a shot at McDaniels in his opening statement. Yeah, which is perfect because he's a candidate. So it's different. The person who's actually running the party is not supposed to call a candidate an asshole. They're supposed to shut their mouth. MF Damien. Vivek called out Ronna directly and blamed her for pushing losing candidates since she's had her position. His opening statement went hard. Yeah, that's the other point. I'm sympathetic towards the message. He's not wrong. The GOP keeps losing because of the lack of support for candidates, especially Trump-endorsed candidates, by the GOP's main line. Thomas Concannon. 3-inch heels was a dig at Nikki and DeSantis. Yeah, exactly. Matthew Hammond. Vivek's opening remarks called for Ronna to resign. She should. Fire down below. Besides Trump, why would you not vote for Vivek? Because I think he has ulterior motives. I've pointed that out on Twitter. You can go and see that. Joe, love you, Sticks. I was at the Trump rally last night. It was at least 75% Hispanic, thousands of people. I think his momentum is growing. Yeah, by the way, not what you would see if you looked at the very, very closely cropped and cherry-picked images, etc., by the DeSantis campaign. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Opinionated junkie. If right wants to really lose, talk at white race. Lol. Pollyanna forever. You crack me up every day. Your brilliant shines, but you need Jesus, man. Well, I appreciate your money and your concern for my soul, but I don't do religion. Jesus is just all right by me. I have no problem with Jesus Christ. No better dude than Christian preachers tend to be. But yeah, I don't do the organized religion thing. Flatty 1. If anyone is going to try Anton's, go with the biltong slabs and try the cabanossi. Absolute perfection. Yes, Anton makes some really great meat. Nice, sweet meat. I need to get some more of that in my life soon. As soon as I'm back in the United States, I'm going to order a bunch of the buffalo especially. That's great for hiking too. You grab a couple of bags, you go out hiking, you've got all the food that you need in a day. It's basically pure protein. Speaking of the devil, King of Biltong. Good morning from Anton's in Roanoke, Texas. Free shipping on your Biltong using code STICKS on www.landofbiltong.com and antonsusa.com. Get yourself some of the official Clank meat and merch, hashtag Clank Nation. By the way, we've got mugs available now as well. So you can get meat, stick shirts, sticks mugs, and sticks tumblers. Yeah, basically all that you need for your outing. Swamp Donkey. McDaniel is a leftist at heart. Until the GOP absolutely purges her kind from the party, they will stay the same. Also, I thought McDaniel was going to scissor with Haley. Yeah, I mean, jokes aside, they looked really goddamn familiar with each other, didn't they? They did look like they were about to have like a little bit of a snug hug going on. Sigil Stone, imagine Ronna McDaniel railing Nikki Haley while screaming, "Oh my John McCain!" Old titties flopping around. You're welcome for that image. Yeah, thank you for that. Now all of a sudden I don't want Biltong as much anymore. Probably looks about the same. A sack of Biltong, and never mind. 87 Sparker, about to order some more of your books, but I would like to know what was the game you were playing where you said you were going against Napoleon. It's probably Napoleon Total War, although it may have been Victoria too. I don't know what reference I was making. I did fight the French in Napoleon Total War, which, by the way, Napoleon Total War 3 mod is also very much playable. You should basically play vanilla and then play the fucking mod. It's amazing. And I like going by the Spanish lakeside and then centering in a bunch of howitzers and just pounding the shit out of them while I take the hill. Like, most of my army just goes up the hill. I've got a few elites behind the cannons just to guard them, along with my general staff. Everyone else goes up the hill, take the high ground, and then charge the cavalry down. Absolutely crippled. It's a great game, as you can tell. As far as Victoria 2, play as any nation. It'll be equally fun, and it'll take you a while to actually play through any given save game. Masail Fraga. Houston runoff is Whitmire versus Sheila Jackson Lee. Yeah, again, just vote for who you think is best. Don't mind party or anything like that. Vote your conscience. That's why I'll be voting Trump. I'm not voting for him because he's a goddamn Republican or a so-called conservative. Fuck that shit. Fuck the Republican Party. 90% of them are a bunch of dickheads. I'm voting for him because he's a better candidate. David Ford. My dad uses sour cream on his cottage pie, but I think it's gross. To each his own. Funny goddamn story about, well, it's not cottage pie, but shepherd's pie. My mother once got that into her head, and I agree with you. It's disgusting. She decided potatoes go well with sour cream, right? Well, there's mashed potatoes in the shepherd's pie, which technically she makes cottage pie and what I'm making is shepherd's pie, but New England linguistics. So she decided to put sour cream and mix it in with the potatoes when it was done. And I bit into it. And keep in mind, this was my favorite meal as a kid. Before I found out about eel sushi, which is my all-time favorite food, shepherd's pie is a close second. I loved it. I mean, I'd eat goddamn 5 helpings of seconds in some cases. I'd be eating it the next day. I'd eat pretty much the whole fucking crock pot full of it. Anyway, she put sour cream in it. And she may be watching right now. Yes, Mom, I still remember the sour cream shepherd's pie incident, and I will never forget it in my life. And she thought that, well, potatoes and sour cream are good together, so it'll taste good. I bit into it, and I'm like, something's wrong here. It just tasted off. And, of course, I load it with ketchup and everything else because I'm nuts. And I love shepherd's pie so much, I've been waiting for it for weeks and weeks because it's my favorite meal. And then it's just like there's something wrong with it. And I said, Mom, this doesn't taste the same. Did you put something, else in it? And she's like, no, I didn't. She tried to lie about it. I knew that there was something different. I take another bite. I'm like, yeah, okay. She didn't admit to it until my dad bit into it. And he likes shepherd's pie too. I don't know if it's one of his favorite meals, but he likes it a lot. He'd eat seconds or thirds easily. And so he bites into it and he's like, he sides with me and he's like, no, my mom's name is Pam. No, Pam, what did you put into it? And she finally says, I put sour cream into the potatoes. And so my favorite meal was ruined. We didn't eat it. And then mom said, oh, it can't be that bad. I'm sure that it's good. Then she bit into it. And the real kicker was then she was like, oh, no, it's not really that good. And I think we had fish sticks and French fries or hot dogs or something after. I can't remember that part, but I'll definitely remember the shepherd's pie. Yeah, so David, you are objectively correct. Cottage pie does not require sour cream, and you are a barbarian if you put it in there. Doc Holliday, leave sticks alone. He's finally overcome his CDS, Christian derangement syndrome. I don't have a problem with Christianity. I just have a problem with churches. I have a problem with temples, too, being a pagan. I wouldn't want to go to one of the Satru folk assembly things either, because it's just like, it's a fucking waste of my time. If I want to worship the old gods or something, I'll plant my own sacred grove. And you're not welcome. Ozzy's Robots. In 2016, it seemed the GOP reformed and the Dems had to do the same. In 2023, the GOP is a dysfunctional mess and Dems win elections despite war, bad economy, etc. Off-year elections are not indicative of 24. Democrats typically outperform there because they're just better at that form of organization. So don't worry too much. Do worry about the fact that the Mitch McConnells and Ronna McDaniels of the party clearly are trying to help the unipartyists to the exclusion of all the populist candidates that are in with Trump, or with anyone associated with him for that matter. That's going to hurt him. I do not expect Trump to have a House majority if reelected. The Commander 248 on a stream on X. I was talking with some DeSantis simps. They muted my mic every time I said something they didn't like. They were stunned that I would vote DeSantis 28. They projected their hatred on me. Will they vote Trump? In the end, most of them will. Iggy Rules 420. Can you tell my buddy Chino to stop thinking about me while eating his daily lollipop? All right, you got to cut that out, Chino. It's unwelcome. It's sexual harassment or something, I guess. Or food harassment. I don't know. Johnny Azul. Reports and receipts surfacing of CNN and AP hiring photographers embedded with Hamas during the massacres on October 7th. Thoughts? Get me those receipts and reports. BW. Yes, but I hate the Dem Party and everything it stands for. I just hate that bitch Sheila more. Also, old saggy titties. There's an even better image. There's a basketball and a soccer ball there in emojis. Sounds about right. Garrett, morning sticks. I'm hearing there has been a nationwide injunction against the pistol brace rule. Good news. Yes, coming from Texas, if I remember correctly. That'll probably be a video tomorrow. The bonus holes. When are you going to upgrade your camera setup so we can finally get Cooking with Sticks live streams? Also, add us, X, at the bonus holes. Well, probably when we move. Bleach Killer 419. Mix hash brown style potatoes with sour cream, shredded cheese, and a can of cream of chicken. Bake for an hour and you get the best cheesy potatoes. Yeah, it's fine with cheesy potatoes. I used to hate sour cream on tacos and a few other things. I have no problem with it now, but it does not go in the potatoes for the shepherd's pie. Ariel Zuniga, read my comment on your X thread about identifying the gun used in the shooting. Zuniga Dragon, it's a Glock 26 Gen 3. Interesting. Trip Boom, good morning, Sticks. Just got the delivery from Anton, and the Ghost Pepper Wagyu is fucking amazing on his web. Ghost Pepper is named Natural Wagyu XX Chili Biltong. All right, so we've got the first review for the new Ghost Pepper Biltong from Anton's, of course, my compatriot. And apparently it's good. By the way, some has been shipped actually to my father along with my mother's tumbleweed. So they'll both be happy. I hope that it's really good. I can't wait to try it because I could use a little more kick. The only thing that I didn't like was that the more spicy stuff from Anton's was, but I mean, I'm nuts, was not spicy enough for me. And that's probably because I have a high spice tolerance. For the average person, it'd be fine. So I can understand his decision to tone it down a bit because most people don't like a lot of spicy food. But if you're like me and you've gone insane, then there's ghost peppers, I suppose. Aaron Nelson, Mar-a-Lago equals Elba. Eventually, we will see the imprisonment, escape, and return of the God King. The fact that that's measurably possible is fascinating to me. Anyways, next news story. Richard Spencer deciding to weigh in on marijuana. I'm going to read this verbatim. I thought this was fucking hilarious. I hate marijuana and think it should be banned on a planetary scale. I'm a reasonable man. and probably could be talked into allowing its medicinal use in certain circumstances. It's the Great White Brotherhood may allow cancer patients to get high. That said, driving down the street and seeing dispensaries on both sides fills me with a combination of depression and rage. It's not that I'm against narcotics per se. It's just that marijuana is a contemptible drug, only enjoyed by weak-minded losers. Its effect is paranoia on one level, but ultimately the drug is an attempt to escape reality, or slow it down to the point where that reality blurs into a dream or apparition. I don't know how much weed Richard Spencer smoked when he formed this opinion, but he was on some strong shit. You at least got some real great goddamn hydro, my dude. Congrats on getting it. It is the narcotic equivalent of Nietzsche's conception of slave mortality, the fantasy of leaving this world, entering a rarefied dream of oneness and justice. It can be escapist. I mean, that part that he's saying is not fundamentally wrong. There are some people that become habituated to it, and they're like using it to deal with stress and stuff to sort of just tamp down on their life. The last part, though, if you thought what I've said so far is a little bit off the chain, wait till you hear the last couple sentences. The acceptable and arguably good drugs are those that intensify the real, make emotions and experiences more vivid. At the very least, a good vice like alcohol in moderation can release you to experience life. Pound the beers, man. Get some calories up in you, the empty carb calories, man. Beer is a good vice, man. I mean, what the fuck are you fucking talking about, dude? Weed doesn't have calories. It is a myth that it makes you lazy. Yes, it can help you relax. If you're already fucking tired, and people who tend to be like tired and depressed, so they have a work-a-day job, and when they smoke weed and then they sack out on the couch, they pass out for a couple hours. Why? Because they're overworked or something. It didn't make them lazy. It made them tired because they were already tired, and it helped accentuate their sleeping. Disclaimer, I'm not claiming that you should use marijuana. Although it's legal in my home state, it's legal here in the Netherlands, it's legal in half the US, and most of the rest of the developed world, yeah, it effectively looks the other way if it's just weed. It's not the devil's weed. It's probably not going to ruin your life. The idea that marijuana is worse for you than alcohol is a complete mythology. If anything, put the fucking bottle down, and disclaimer, I say this in jest, but go get a vape or something like that. Alcohol is highly addictive, has calories, and will rot out your liver and damage half a dozen other organs as well. Marijuana can lead to, because it does contain carcinogens, unless you're vaping it, I suppose, and jury's still out on the health benefits versus detriments on that one, and definitely harm your lungs. It can definitely harm your life. You know, getting high all the time or something, you become habituated. You can't get chemically addicted, but you can get habituated. So I'm not saying you should use pot, and I don't. I haven't used marijuana since 2010 or 2011. I can't remember which year, because I overdosed on spice and blew out a bunch of receptors, so I can't enjoy marijuana anymore. Given the choice, though, all else even, if I could choose between you smoke to get high and get relaxed or something, or you drink, I would choose marijuana every time. It is less harmful. This is documented by virtually all available research. The modern research, so not something that came from the J. Edgar Hoover administration claiming, you know, reefer madness, you're going to smoke that one joint and you're going to crash your car into the wall. Yeah, dude, you should not be talking about drugs because clearly you have no fucking clue what you're fucking talking about. Its effect is paranoia on one level, but ultimately the drug is an attempt to escape reality. Well, you just defined all drugs for the most part, unless they're being used for spiritual purposes. By the way, as long as I was using psychs for spiritual purposes, many of which are much more illegal than marijuana under Vermont law at the time, I was just fine. I plowed through mescaline and psilocybin and LSD and salvia divinorum and Syrian rue and a bunch of other fucking things. Made ayahuasca. And Blue Lotus. Blue Lotus is a weird hypnotic, by the way. If you manage to get it to work at all because the threshold dose is pretty high, that's one weird fucking drug. I used it all, basically. The only things I didn't use were hard drugs. And the only soft drug that I didn't manage to get a hold of, Molly, I suppose. I wanted to do candy flipping with Molly and LSD, but I never got a hold of it. I did have a connection, but there was none available. And by the time that some was available, I was no longer at UVM, and I'm like, I didn't have a car at the time. So Richard, please either debate me on this and related drug substances and topics, or shut the fuck up, because you sound completely ignorant and you're embarrassing yourself. I think he got ratioed too. A reason for that. The Emperor's Champion. Clanks for the God Emperor. Daniel, new paper out in Journal of Physiology explains how the body messages sex cells to transmit acquired traits like stress to offspring. Google, bubbling beyond the barrier, exosomal RNA, Phillips Noble, rebuttals and collabs, welcome. Sounds interesting. Didn't learn about that in high school back in the 2000s. I wonder why. I do know about the Golgi apparatus, though. The Agal faces Wisconsin weed still illegal, while in Ohio it isn't. Yeah, it's interesting how it's sort of broken the mold of the states with regards to their partisan breakdowns. Sigil Stone, gotta disagree, Sticks. For legal reasons, I totally haven't shuffed some devil's lettuce that put me to sleep without having done any work. It can do that. And just ordered some biltong. Meat goodness. Yes, I mean, absolutely, it can put you to sleep. But, you can get over-the-counter fucking sedatives. Nobody seems to think that they're a societal issue. Some NyQuil or some shit like that. The bonus holes. You can't be in favor of freedom and simultaneously advocate for drug bans. Agreed. The two are mutually exclusive. The left would lose a lot of voters if the Republicans became the party of full legalization. Yeah, I mean, but they're too dumb to do that. Smirk808. Weed may not be addictive for everyone, but when I quit, I woke up soaked in sweat 3 times a night for a week. Yeah, it can definitely be habituating. Absolutely. Ozzy's Robots. If you're in the arts and musics, narcotics causing altered states might enhance productivity. If you're designing a reactor, you should probably be sober. Yeah, exactly. It also depends on your lifestyle and your job. Oh, you're a trucker? You probably should avoid alcohol. Wow, about the journos traveling with Hamas. Sent you a Twitter DM under the name Makis Kurisu is best waifu. Friends, bosses, husbands wrote the article. I'll take a look at that later. The bonus holes. When you tried brewing ayahuasca, did it actually work? Our singer tried brewing it years ago, and all that happened was a light case of La Purga. Yeah, I got the La Purga. I got some mild audio hallucinations. Obviously, I should have held it down for another minute or so. Then I probably would have been blasted into outer space. It's probably best that I didn't, though. Salvia is easier and basically accomplishes the same thing. So I don't understand why you even bother brewing ayahuasca. Wow, goddamn YouTube making me rewrite the message several times. The Commander 248. Small disclaimer, marijuana can be fun. I can't take it anymore because I'm a Marine, but don't take K2. Agreed. It's the longest hour of my life, and I couldn't see 2 feet in front of me. Screwed me up for years. Yeah, I was knocked out of commission for about 6 months after my spice overdose. It wasn't K2, though. I can't remember. It was pure JWH018 powder. I used the precursor powder, undiluted, and put a little bit too much in the pipe while I was trying to make my own spice blend. You see, my family was very poor at the time, and I was actually trying to make drugs in order to make ends meet. Of course, it was legal at the time, so it's not really drug manufacturing, but it should have been illegal. Why didn't you just legalize pot already? I would have much rather grown a couple of pot plants. Would have been easier. Would have been safer. Adam V. Anton's biltong is amazing. Absolutely. Yeah, he sent me a sampler bag there. Absolutely nothing got wasted, that's for sure. Next news story. FCC commissioner says Biden admin is about to take over every aspect of internet providers in the name of equity. He's not exaggerating. Well, he's slightly exaggerating. I'm going to let you read through that article yourself. The FCC, I'll just read this one section. The text of the order expressly provides that the FCC would be empowered for the first time to regulate tech and every ISP's. Number 1, network infrastructure deployment, network reliability, network upgrades, network maintenance, customer premises equipment, and installation. Number 2, speeds, capacities, latency, data caps, throttling, pricing, promotional rates, imposition of late fees, opportunity for equipment rental, installation time, contract renewal terms, service termination terms, and use of customer credit and account history. Oh, and number 3, mandatory arbitration clauses, pricing, deposits, discounts, customer service, language options, credit checks, marketing or advertisement, contract renewal, upgrades, account termination, transfers to another covered entity, and service suspension. So basically, it's not hyperbole. Yeah, the Biden admin wants the FCC to effectively control every aspect of the goddamn internet. We will be talking about this further in a one-off video in the near future. I've got a backlog. I promise to get back to it. I will not be deleting this particular link for a reason. Please do go to that and familiarize yourself with what exactly Biden is doing, because this comes from Not the Bee. And that's basically like, you know, your satire site has to delve into actual news because it's just so dire, there's no way to make a joke about it. Yeah, it's slightly frightening because remember, the AI czar right now is Kamala Harris. Why do I feel like the FCC head in the future is going to end up being Kamala Harris too if the Biden admin continues? It's a terrible idea. It effectively would be an FCC takeover of the internet. To be clear, they would be able to do basically whatever they want. Sigil Stone. People do think over-the-counter sedatives are an issue. That's why so many cold medicines had to reformulate during the 2000s due to people getting fucked up off it. I didn't see the problem, and I never even used any of these things. I suppose I'm just not a moralist. Let people get high. There's no way to stop them. They go out in the woods. They're going to find mushrooms and weird herbs and shit. Lactica virosa, Lactica cereola, Psilocybe cubensis, Amanita muscaria. The list goes on for quite some time. California poppies are goddamn narcotic. Did you know this? Those little orange poppies that every other grandma grows in her garden? If they're processed properly, those are narcotic. Lactica virosa is a weed. Datura, Jimson weed, that grows everywhere. Henbane and all of these other things. Delirium, so you definitely shouldn't use those. Don't bother trying them. Trust me. Just trust the experienced psychonaut. Datura is no good. Don't even get me started on wolfsbane and what that'll fuck you up with. M1 Dot. If you get a second look at Chris Lysick from the Counts for Legal Defense, givesendgo.com link there. God bless and fentanyl bad. Yeah, don't use fentanyl. Yeah, people should disclaimer again. I'm totally jesting, but I mean, it's about time that people grow and make their own drugs instead of relying upon the tainted market. Wasted Bonehead, good morning from the grave. Uh-oh, the zombie's here. That means there will probably be some blood sports between him and Sigil. We were just talking about drugs. Zombies can't use drugs because you have to eat brains in order to have mental function, I think. Next news story, anti-Semitism exposed. I actually like the tone of this article. Jewish Americans flocking to gun stores as anti-Semitic violence surges worldwide. Just as an aside, I think that it's great that more people are buying guns. I don't give a fuck what religion they happen to follow. Everyone should own guns that is capable of doing so literally anywhere in the world. No matter what you have to do, you should own a gun because guns are good. Guns are fun. Guns can keep you or those around you from fucking dying. I fail to see the problem. You know why nations give guns to soldiers? It's ostensibly to protect the nation. Do you know, therefore, why citizens should have guns? To fucking protect themselves. If a bunch of Jews go out and buy guns, great. I think that's wonderful. This is sort of like, it's almost one of those scare pieces. Like some people are like, oh my God, the Jews are arming up. And I'm like, oh, this sounds a little bit like the liberals worrying about black people buying guns a couple of years ago, in the wake of supposedly white supremacist terrorism. So there were a huge surge of cases of black people that were going to gun stores to own guns. I loved how the anti-gunners kept trotting out footage of some random black person holding a Glock or an AR or something. Oh, well, I bet the conservatives will be anti-gun now. And the response from all the conservatives, even like the hardcore evangelicals, is like, oh, great, another person for the shooting team. Yeah. As a libertarian, of course, I just don't give a fucking shit. I think you should be able to mail order a goddamn fully automatic weapon. I'm not joking when I say that. You can already get grenades as long as you pay the tax stamp. I just don't see why they're not at Walmart. You can already get an automatic weapon if you're willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars. Why the fuck can't you manufacture more if they're already available anyway? Effectively, gun control only keeps poor people from owning guns, which is the tragic irony of the leftoids. No, everyone should have a couple. Bring back the Tommy gun. Steve C., are you familiar with Calia? If not, it is right up your alley, fcc.gov/Calia. No, I'm not familiar with that. A beer a day with TK. As an Ohioan, I was happy to see weed legalized, but when you read the actual language of the proposal, it's filled with DEI nonsense. Yeah, well, that can't be helped. By the way, fourth time is a charm. Ohio tried it before. Originally, it was going to be basically weed is legal, but you can only get it from like one state dispensary. People nixed that one. I guess they said, okay, well, we'll let you have your woke investment as long as we can smoke up. Yo Pops 215, Yo Sticks, Hell's Bells. I remember talking about it. Did research and decided no way. Yeah. David Walk, legalize all drugs. It isn't the government's job to protect you from yourself. Exactly. By the way, please send no more super chats. We're running up close to an hour, and I have one more thing that I have to talk about. The Nerdwire. Hey, Sticks, the Patriot Cairo here. Shout out, please. I've rebranded my name and Instagram to The Nerdwire. Clankers follow for funny retro game history, 80s, 90s nostalgia, gardening, and other nerdy vids. All right, so Patriot Cairo has rebranded as The Nerdwire. Little shout out there. Let's see. Sigil Stone. It's fine for people to get high. The problem is addicts. They want to claim it's mental illness, so let's take them at their word and institutionalize their asses. Also, haha, bonehead can't get high. Problem is you'd have about 10 million alcoholics in the asylum. That might get a little bit messy. Sigil Stone again. I heard about some undead blocking a road in a protest, so I got George Street Cleaner Lucas, and we're on our way. Our new 349 just ordered biltong. Yeah, a lot of people get recommended Anton's biltong from this channel. Link in the description, of course, to that merch link, as well as Pumpkin Fire Productions. You should definitely take a look at both of them. By the way, as well, I'll just pitch myself here as well. Link in the description, cross-platform, as well as pinned on the top on YouTube to my books blogs. Just released another one, Epitome of Homeopathy, interesting medical history work. Disclaimer, I don't actually recommend that you administer diluted arsenic to people. I don't think that it has many medicinal benefits, but it's what the book says. And it was a medical doctor, fully registered from the late 19th century, who wrote it. I think some of his patients ended up like a wasted bonehead, probably. Sticks, after last night's debate, I support rolling Chris Christie's fat ass to the Levantine. I can't say that on a YouTube stream, sorry. The true weapon of mass destruction. I'll say to fart on the Israelis and Palestinians. And a follow-up. Forgot my good morning. You have to be careful because I'm dual streaming. Yeah, we've got a deviated prevert here. He was attempting a mutiny of preverts, and General Ripper found out, and so he got caught. Deviant ex-CIA officer admits drugging and sexually abusing dozens of women. Brian Jeffrey Raymond, 47, preyed on women in at least 6 countries. Oh, you mean when you teach someone infiltration tactics and how to get away with literally anything without being traced, and they can spend years and years raping people? Interesting. A former CIA officer, because again, federal bureaus are unimpeachable. There's no one corrupt in them. I've been told this by the liberals for years now. Admitted Tuesday in a D.C. court to drugging and sexually abusing more than 24 women while on overseas posts as part of a federal plea deal that could land him behind bars for up to 30 years. Raymond, 47, pleaded guilty to 1 count each of sexual abuse, abusive sexual contact, coercion, and enticement, and transportation of obscene material, but confessed as part of the agreement to victimizing 28 women in 6 countries since 2006. A search warrant revealed that Raymond kept a sick trove of more than 500 videos and photographs he had taken of naked, unconscious women, most of which he probably put on the internet by now. So, again, porn can be a yucky industry. The record depicts a sexual predator with the means and motive. Yeah, the means. He was taught by the CIA. That's the whole fucking problem. To seek out unsuspecting women on dating apps, drug them, abuse them, and leave them without the memory or wherewithal to report his deviated prevert schemes to law enforcement, the judge wrote. Yeah, definitely deviated. Yeah, what method did you use? I have a feeling it was more than roofies. I have a feeling that you might have been using some of that Philippine blow or something like that. Speaking of, by the way, certain narcotic substances that you probably should not use. Scopolamine is a bitch. Atropine too. Keep away from the nightshade berries for a reason. Unless you're making diluted eye drops from them. That was common back in the Victorian era. Did you know that, by the way? Victorian women would take deadly nightshade, have the material diluted. It'd contain atropine. And they'd have eye drops. They put them in their eyes to dilate them so that they would look more beautiful and stuff. Drugs are definitely ubiquitous in human society. So yeah, thank you, CIA. Yet another well-trained individual. He definitely did his job in keeping people safe, apparently all around the world in several different countries. Late in life redneck sticks. Do you own any rifles or shotguns? No, not yet. I have a sword next to me, though. Oops, almost knocked over my caffeine. That'd be a goddamn nightmare. But I have 3 handguns in the United States. I will be buying more firearms in the future. Don't worry. I had to prioritize. Alan Smithy, legalize nuclear bombs. I actually cover that in my work about the gun rights debate and how to win it. Available on my books blog, by the way. Again, linked in the description. And I make the claim that while that argument is hilarious, it's actually not a great argument to make even in jest for several reasons. Rabbi Shlomo Bergstein, Vivek's 3-inch heel quip wasn't just for Nikki Haley. It was for Rhonda DeSantis, too. I pointed that out in my video this morning. He said there's 2 people on stage when referring to the heels. Yes, exactly. Again, please send no more super chats, though. I have to go off here. Shaky Owns, have you ever seen the movie Time Chasers? It was filmed in Rutland. No, I haven't. JSpot51, Krispy Kreme Christie. Yeah, Chris Christie is definitely going to have his fill today, celebrating his 5th place in the 5-person debate. Sure, he'll have fun. Imagine what his breakfast is like. I bet it's not just a bowl of muesli with some yogurt or something like that. And it ain't Joe Biden's bran muffin with a little cuppy of ice cream on the side. I think it's more like, hey, I ordered from McDonald's. I got 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, and some of you will get the reference. Anyway, I'm going to go offline now. I thank you to the nearly 5,500 people actually that tuned in live today. I will be live tomorrow. And by the way, next week I'll be going live probably with the quartering. That was planned for today, literally in this time slot, but I think he's sick, so he couldn't host the live stream. So I'm doing it myself here. And I will definitely be live tomorrow for Friday. I've got to go and prep things for cottage pie and do a bunch of other stuff, play around with toys on the floor because, as a dad, you're allowed to do that. You can take a couple of hours off just to play with like toy cars or something. It's actually pretty great. Can't wait till the Lego age. I mean, I spent $10,000 on Legos. Well, you can't blame me if they're for my child. In other words, I'm playing with them too. And I really wanted a pile of Legos, but it's plausible deniability. That's about all. Peace out.